So there's a project in Web3 that started with nothing and attracted $1.4 billion in liquidity 1 week from launch. There's another project that started with nothing and got over 130,000 Twitter followers in 4 days and over 300,000 users in a week. And a third project that started with nothing and hit $2.4 billion in market cap in 60 days. And in this video, you're going to learn how they did it so that if you're working on a Web3 project, it doesn't become one of the other projects, the ones that fail, the ones that never sort of take off, the ones that nobody ever heard of. And you probably know this already, but this quote of if you build it, they will come, that's just not how it works. My name is Robert, and I've been doing marketing for over a decade. And I had to learn marketing because, I started several businesses that were in desperate need of paying customers. And that's where I sort of learned the fundamentals of marketing and what gets people to take action. Since I got into Web3, I've done a lot of consultations with founders in this space about their challenges with respect to launching their crypto projects. And I started to sort of notice a pattern. They all more or less had the same problem. They were all in the same boat. They were all working on great products, whether it was in DeFi or gaming or NFTs or blockchain ecosystems or exchanges and so on. And most of them were aware of, other successful projects that were similar to theirs. And yet they didn't know how those projects had succeeded. They didn't know what to do. But that ends today. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to cover 3 things that you need to do to successfully launch your Web3 project. And by the end of this video, you should have a really good idea of what to do or how to approach launching your project. The first thing that is useful to understand is a very short lesson on how the human brain works, specifically the reticular activating system. So the RAS is effectively a bundle of nerves that kind of filters information. So think about how much data is being sent to your brain right now and how little of that you're actually aware of. So the RAS helps you kind of focus in on the things that have value to you in some form. And it's your job as a project founder or a marketer to help people make this connection, help them understand that your project has value. So the natural follow-up here is what has value? Well, when it comes to Web3 projects, it's effectively going to come down to the utility of the project, which solves some kind of problem for a set of people, and the potential financial gain from getting involved. So when it comes to Web3 projects, people are going to pay attention to projects that have an exciting future with respect to the potential financial gain and or the problem that they solve. And they sort of disregard all the other projects. And I'm willing to bet that there's maybe 5-10 projects in the space that you pay close attention to, and then there's probably hundreds of others that you've sort of come across, but you don't remember them, right? So this may seem obvious, but if you went and picked 10 random projects right now and kind of analyzed what they're communing about as far as, where their project's going to be in a month or 3 months or a year or 5 years or 10 years, whatever the case may be, what you'll find is, well, they just don't talk about it very much at all. Now, Cardano, on the other hand, is a great example that illustrates the power of communicating a powerful vision. And I say this because I looked at over 3,100 VC-funded crypto projects, and I found that only 8 of them are building on Cardano, which is interesting. But, Cardano reached almost $100 billion market cap during the 2021 bull run, which means that this high market cap is not actually coming from developers building on it and users using the products in the ecosystem. It's due to something else. And what that is Charles Hoskinson communicating an exciting future vision for the project, which makes people pay attention. Where most projects don't talk a lot about where they're going, it's practically all they talk about in Cardano. They constantly mention the use cases they're trying to solve, who they're trying to solve it for, how they're going to do it, and so on and so forth. So people pay attention to and buy into projects that have an exciting future because it's not about where you are today that people care about, it's about where you can be. So the first thing that you need to get clear on is an exciting vision of the project. People have to buy into your vision. They have to be clear and kind of see a clear picture of what can be. The second thing that you need to be aware of as you gear up to launch your project is that people respond or don't respond to the message that you put out in the world. And this in many ways sort of ties right back into the point that we just made here. Your messaging either resonates with people or it doesn't. Blair Warren, one of my favorite marketers, once said the following sentence: "People will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies." And if you study any successful cult, you'll find that they do this extremely well. And the better you know your audience here, the better you'll do. And I can tell you that in my years of doing market research, I found that there's one method that is kind of superior to all others when it comes to really getting to know your customer or your audience by talking to them. I know it's groundbreaking stuff here, but you would actually be surprised how many founders have absolutely no contact whatsoever with the people whose problem they're trying to solve. In my opinion, you'll learn more by talking to 10 customers than 1,000 hours of research. So go talk to them and try to learn more about these things. What is their dream? Why do they think they've failed to achieve this dream? What fears and suspicions do they have about their journey to achieve the dream? And who or what has kind of prevented them from doing so? So who's the enemy, right? And then your ongoing messaging should be focused on that. So when you're putting out a tweet, when you're doing a community call, when you're doing any sort of communication to the public, these are the things, at least as a starting point, that you should be thinking about and talking about. So again, this is really an extension of the vision in a way where the vision is kind of a clear statement about where you're going, and your messaging is the ongoing communication that you put out in the world that people either see value in or they don't. But you really have to understand that people act in their own self-interest, right? So where your vision is more about your project, the messaging is all about them. How specifically does what you do impact their lives? Will it help them reach their dreams? Will it help them fight their enemy? And so on and so forth. The third thing that is useful to understand is that going from 0 people paying attention to your project to 1 person, from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4, and so on, is actually harder than going from 0 to 100 in one go. Like picture these two scenarios for a moment. So imagine I was a personal trainer and I was really good at getting people into amazing shape. And I'm working at a gym, I'm training clients every day, I'm hoping they're gonna tell their friends about me, I'm on social media posting useful content, I'm replying to comments and doing all that stuff, right? Which you should do that too, that, the equivalent of that. It's very useful. So imagine I'm doing that to grow the number of people who pay attention to me and subsequently pay me for some type of help to help them sort of get into great shape. Versus The Rock puts out a video on Instagram to his 340 million followers and says, hey, this is Robert. He's my trainer. He's the guy who gets me in shape for all the movies that I do. Go follow him. You're going to learn all the secrets. So when it comes to getting results fast, which option would you prefer here? It's a no-brainer, right? And there's great news here if you're in Web3. So, most personal trainers don't know The Rock and they can't get him to make a video about them. And we can actually achieve something similar here in Web3, which I'm going to tell you about it in just a moment. But to kind of summarize what I'm talking about here, the third point is about tapping into already existing audiences. At the start, I mentioned 3 projects that had an absolutely wild launch. Very, very successful, and I'll share with you the details about those now. So the first project was SushiSwap. They forked Uniswap and did what's called a vampire attack. They effectively incentivized Uniswap liquidity providers to bring their liquidity to SushiSwap in exchange for better returns on their money. They attracted $1.4 billion in liquidity in just 1 week. And think about how wild that is. I mean, when have you ever heard of a company becoming $1 billion company in a week? And not in valuation, not in market cap, but like $1.4 billion worth of actual currency. It's absolutely wild. And it's a massive opportunity for you. So the second project that I mentioned is OpenDAO and their SOS token. Now what they did was they airdropped OpenSea users and allowed them to claim SOS tokens based on how many transactions they had had on OpenSea and how much they had spent. And this got crypto Twitter talking about them like you wouldn't believe. Some of you are going to remember this if you were paying attention at that time. So what was the result of that launch? Well, in 4 days, they had 130,000 plus Twitter followers and over 300,000 wallets claimed their SOS tokens in the first week. Again, absolutely mind-blowing results that you can actually learn from. And the third project was Steppen. This was the Move to Earn project. They launched their token by partnering with Binance and their launchpad. And this got them on the map. And within 60 days, the token had reached a $2.5 billion market cap. So again, a third example of absolutely mind-blowing results. And all of them basically did the same thing slightly differently. They tapped into existing audiences. And the beautiful thing here is that it's not terribly difficult to find existing projects whose incentives align with yours, where they have a built-in audience and they would be willing to partner with you in some way. It's really the best shortcut that I have seen to have a smashing launch and go out with a bang. So could you launch your coin with an established launchpad or an NFT with, an NFT launchpad? Or could you co-market with the blockchain that you're building on? They might be open to that. We're doing that with some of the clients that I work with. Could you partner with other projects where incentives align for the both of you? Now, if you do these three things, you establish an exciting vision for the project, you figure out your messaging, and you launch by tapping into existing audiences, your chances of succeeding here are going to increase by orders of magnitude. And I understand, this is difficult to execute on, but right now I want to make you an offer that's not going to cost you a dime. You see, I love this stuff. My entire mission is to help Web3 projects increase their probability of success. And just like I urged you to speak to your customers earlier, I'm currently on a mission to do the same. So if you have a Web3 project that you're looking to launch, whether you're a founder or in charge of marketing, I'd love to speak with you, learn more, and in exchange, I'll give you a free consultation. Now, obviously, there's only 24 hours in a day. I'm already consulting with a bunch of projects, so I'm not sure how long I'll be doing this for. And, I can only allocate a few hours a week for these free consultations. But if you would like a free consultation, there's a link here somewhere, description, comment section, check it out, where you can schedule a time to speak with me. And if you find a free slot, just grab it. And, I look forward to speaking with you. Hope you enjoyed this video. And the last thing that I'll say is, I have other content like this on my channel. I got more planned. And so if you want more of that, just subscribe while you're here. And that's it. Have an awesome day. Ciao.